Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's breaking news comes from one of the most strategically important and controversial locations in the entire Russia-Ukraine conflict, the Crimean Bridge. Reports are coming in of a massive explosion that has rocked the bridge once again, sending shockwaves not just across Crimea, but throughout Russia and Ukraine. Eyewitnesses described the blast as one of the largest since the war began, with flames lighting up the night sky and thick black smoke visible for miles. This explosion has not only caused enormous physical damage, but could also have major consequences for Russia's military supply lines and its ongoing operations in southern Ukraine. According to early reports, the explosion occurred in the early hours of the morning, when traffic on the bridge was relatively light. Videos circulating on social media show a section of the bridge engulfed in fire, with parts of the roadway collapsed into the sea below. Emergency crews rushed to the scene, but the intensity of the flames made it difficult to approach. Russian authorities quickly sealed off the area, blocking access and suspending all traffic across the bridge. The Kremlin has described the incident as a terrorist attack, while Ukrainian officials have remained ambiguous, neither confirming nor denying their involvement. The Crimean Bridge, also known as the Kerch Bridge, is one of the most vital infrastructure links for Russia. It connects mainland Russia to the Crimean Peninsula, which Moscow annexed from Ukraine in 2014. The bridge serves as a critical route for transporting troops, weapons, fuel, and supplies to Russian forces fighting in southern Ukraine. Any disruption to this lifeline can significantly weaken Russia's military logistics and its ability to sustain operations along the front lines. This is why the explosion is not just a physical blow, but also a symbolic one. It challenges Russia's control over Crimea and its claim to the territory. Videos and satellite images taken after the blast show that at least one section of the bridge has completely collapsed. The rail portion of the bridge, which carries fuel and heavy equipment, appears to have been severely damaged. Reports suggest that several fuel tanks caught fire, creating secondary explosions that spread further along the structure. The sound of the blast was reportedly heard as far away as Kerch and even parts of southern Russia. Witnesses described the moment as terrifying, with windows shattering and buildings trembling from the force. Russian officials were quick to issue statements promising to repair the bridge as soon as possible. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov called the explosion a cowardly act of sabotage aimed at destabilizing Russia's efforts in Ukraine. The Russian Ministry of Transport claimed that damage assessments are underway and that temporary ferry services will be established to maintain supply lines. However, military analysts say the damage could take months to fully repair, given the complexity of the bridge's structure and the scale of destruction visible in the footage. Meanwhile, Ukrainian social media channels were flooded with reactions, some expressing joy, others calling the explosion a turning point in the war. Many Ukrainian commentators referred to the bridge as a legitimate military target, emphasizing that it's a crucial artery for Russian occupation forces. Although Kiev has not officially taken responsibility, Ukrainian intelligence sources have previously hinted at plans to target the bridge again after the first major attack in 2022. That earlier explosion was a major blow to Russia's prestige, and this new incident could be an even greater one. Experts suggest the explosion was likely caused by a powerful missile strike or an underwater drone packed with explosives. Several analysts point out that Ukraine has been developing long-range strike capabilities, including sea drones capable of carrying heavy payloads. In recent months, Ukraine has also targeted Russian naval assets in the Black Sea using similar tactics. If it's confirmed that Kiev was behind this attack, it would demonstrate Ukraine's growing ability to strike deep inside Russian controlled territory with precision. For Russia, the implications are enormous. The Crimean Bridge is not only a logistical hub, but also a symbol of Russia's annexation of Crimea. Vladimir Putin personally opened the bridge in 2018, driving a truck across it as a sign of Russia's dominance over the region. Each time the bridge is attacked, it undermines that image of control and invincibility. Losing access to the bridge means Russia must rely on alternative routes, primarily through the land corridor along the Sea of Azov, which is under constant Ukrainian attack. This adds tremendous strain on Russia's military supply chain and delays crucial shipments to the front lines. As the investigation continues, conflicting reports are emerging about casualties. Some sources claim that civilian vehicles were caught in the explosion, while others insist that the area was mostly used by military convoys at the time. Russian emergency services have reported at least several injuries and possible fatalities, though these numbers remain unconfirmed. In typical fashion, Russian state media has downplayed the scale of the damage, insisting that repairs are already underway and that the bridge will soon reopen. But satellite photos tell a different story. The structure appears severely compromised, with multiple support pillars missing or bent out of shape. This attack could not have come at a worse time for Moscow. Russia has been struggling to maintain its momentum on the battlefield, facing fierce resistance and growing shortages of ammunition and manpower. At the same time, Ukraine has intensified its drone and missile strikes on Russian positions across the front lines and deep within occupied territories. By targeting the bridge, Ukraine may be aiming to cut off Russian reinforcements and supplies ahead of winter, a season that traditionally slows down military operations. If Russia cannot repair or replace the bridge quickly, its forces in southern Ukraine could find themselves isolated and undersupplied. In recent months, Western intelligence agencies have repeatedly warned that Russia's logistics networks are under severe strain. The loss of the bridge, even temporarily, will force Russia to reroute supplies by sea or through the long overland routes that are vulnerable to Ukrainian attacks. This not only makes transportation slower and costlier, but also exposes supply convoys to constant danger. Analysts say this could have a domino effect on Russia's war effort, weakening its offensive capability and forcing it to divert resources to protect its supply lines instead of launching new attacks. Public reaction within Russia has been mixed. Some citizens have expressed frustration and anger on social media, questioning how such a crucial piece of infrastructure could be attacked again despite heavy security. Others have rallied behind the government, calling for revenge and intensified strikes on Ukraine. The Kremlin, for its part, has promised a firm response. In previous incidents, such retaliations have come in the form of large-scale missile strikes across Ukraine, targeting power plants, infrastructure, and civilian areas. Many fear that a similar wave of attacks could follow this latest explosion. The situation in Crimea remains tense. Local authorities have declared a state of emergency and are urging residents to stay indoors. Long lines of vehicles have been reported near fuel stations and supermarkets as people rush to stock up on essentials. Ferry services across the Kerch Strait are overwhelmed, and officials are warning of possible shortages of food and fuel in the coming days. For residents, the explosion serves as a stark reminder that the war, which many in Crimea hoped to ignore, is now closer than ever. Internationally, the explosion has drawn strong reactions. Western governments have refrained from commenting directly on the cause, but have reiterated their support for Ukraine's right to defend its territory. NATO officials have noted that the bridge is a legitimate military target because it serves as a critical supply route for Russian troops. Meanwhile, global markets have reacted to the news, with oil prices rising slightly amid fears of further instability in the Black Sea region. For Ukraine, the timing of the explosion could be strategic. With winter approaching and Russian forces trying to fortify their defenses, cutting off the main supply line to Crimea could significantly weaken Moscow's ability to hold its positions. Ukrainian officials have previously described the bridge as the main artery of occupation, and destroying it, even partially, sends a powerful message to both Russian troops and Ukrainian citizens. It signals that no part of the occupied territory is beyond reach. The psychological impact of this explosion is also immense. For Russians, it undermines the narrative of safety and control that the Kremlin has tried to project. For Ukrainians, it boosts morale, reinforcing the belief that their resistance is working, and that victory, while distant, is possible. Military experts predict that Russia will now have to make a difficult choice. Either divert major resources to repair and protect the bridge or shift focus to securing alternate supply routes. Through the occupied regions, both options stretch Russian logistics thin. The coming weeks will likely reveal more details about the nature of the explosion, whether it was a missile strike, a drone attack, or sabotage from within. Each possibility carries different implications. If it was a missile, it shows Ukraine's long-range precision capabilities have improved. If it was a drone, it demonstrates Kyiv's growing innovation in asymmetrical warfare. And if it was sabotage, it would suggest serious vulnerabilities within Russia's own security apparatus. Whatever the method, the message is clear. The Crimean Bridge is not invincible. Satellite imagery and forensic analysis are already being examined by experts worldwide. Preliminary assessments suggest that the explosion occurred near one of the bridge's main support spans, which would explain the structural collapse visible in the videos. Such precision indicates careful planning and reconnaissance, further supporting the theory of a deliberate military strike. For Ukraine, this would be a significant tactical success. For Russia, an embarrassing and costly setback. It's worth remembering that this isn't the first time the Crimean Bridge has been targeted. In October 2022, a massive explosion destroyed several spans of the bridge, killing multiple people and forcing Russia to spend months repairing it. After that incident, Russia heavily reinforced the area with air defense systems, naval patrols, and underwater surveillance. Yet despite all those measures, another devastating explosion has occurred. That raises serious questions about the effectiveness of Russian defenses and their ability to protect key infrastructure. As the day unfolds, both sides are likely to use this incident for propaganda purposes. Russian media will frame it as an act of terrorism and an attack on civilians, while Ukrainian outlets will highlight it as a legitimate blow against the occupation forces. In the fog of war, truth becomes difficult to separate from narrative, but one thing is undeniable. The destruction of the Crimean Bridge marks another dramatic chapter in a conflict that shows no signs of ending soon. Many analysts believe this event could accelerate political and military shifts. Russia may increase its mobilization efforts or escalate its attacks on Ukrainian infrastructure in retaliation. Ukraine, buoyed by the success, might intensify its operations in the south, particularly around Melitopol and Mariupol, aiming to cut off the land corridor entirely. Either way, the strategic map of the conflict is changing rapidly, and this explosion will have long-term consequences for both sides. As we continue to monitor the situation, updates are still coming in. Russian repair crews have reportedly begun assessing the damage, but it's unclear how long the reconstruction will take. In 2022, it took months to restore limited functionality, and that was under less severe conditions. Now, with ongoing hostilities and more extensive destruction, rebuilding may prove even harder. For the Russian military, every day without the bridge is a logistical nightmare, forcing them to find risky alternatives to move supplies and reinforcements. In conclusion, this massive blast on the Crimean Bridge represents far more than just a physical explosion. It's a direct hit to Russia's strategic backbone, a powerful psychological message, and a potential turning point in the war's southern front. The destruction of this key link not only disrupts supply chains, but also symbolizes the vulnerability of Russia's grip on Crimea. The world is watching closely to see how both sides respond and what this means for the future of the conflict. The coming days will reveal whether Russia can recover quickly or whether this event becomes a lasting symbol of its weakening hold over occupied territories. Until then, the image of the burning bridge across the Kerch Strait stands as a dramatic reminder that even the most heavily guarded structures are not immune to the tides of war. If you found this update helpful and want to stay informed about the latest developments, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more breaking analysis. Stay tuned for continuing coverage as we bring you verified updates on the situation in Crimea and its impact on the wider war. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.